I love it. All right, we're getting everybody in. Happy Friday, everybody. Oh, I
Happy
see
Friday.
or familiar names, not faces, but all right. Well, I'm going to kick us off with well, I'll do a little bit of an intro and then we'll get into trivia because that's way more fun. All right, so for those who I have not met on here before, my name is Melissa Langdale and I'm the president and COO of the Mortgage Collaborative. And as always, we are joined by Rob Chrisman today. And today's very special guests are Allison Johnston, who's the president of Success Mortgage Partners, and Amy Azorandia, who's the SVP of Mortgage Compliance and Systems at First Trust Bank. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
All right, so I like to kick things off with a little bit of trivia because trivia is fun. And most of the things that we are going to talk about today have to do with the Federal Reserve because we are all in sitting on pins and needles, to use Rob's phrase just a minute ago, waiting on kind of that rate cut to come. So I want to ask everybody, what year was the Federal Reserve established?
Can I answer that?
Oh, we got some in the chat already. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Then I won't answer it because I've already seen the correct answer.
You've already seen the correct answer. All right, it's in the chat. Yeah, that's right. It's 1913. Tell me how you knew that, Rob.
Well, I've been on the Federal Reserve's website enough, and it's right there.
It's right.
And so, yeah, I just kind of can we mute? I hear noise. I hear noise out there.
Rob, I feel like you know everything though, because did you look at the panic that Amy had on her face and mine too? I was like, wait, are we going to answer these questions?
No, I did not prep y'all for these. These are supposed to be fun. All right, so I'll take it a step further. Who is the president?
Oh, I know that one.
Federal Reserve was established in 1913. Amy?
The only reason why I know it is because I had that face and I did a quick look up and I found out it was Woodrow Wilson. And it was like a Christmas time thing, right, Rob?
Christmas?
Yeah, it was signed in right before Christmas.
Wow, you're way beyond my knowledge depth pool. Christmas, I mean, yikes.
Yeah, December 23rd, 1913.
Okay.
Look at Amy multitasking. I don't want to touch anything because I'm afraid I'm going to exit out and then I'll have to figure out how to get back in the Zoom meeting.
That's fantastic. Okay, harder question, but also a little fun. When did the Federal Reserve start controlling interest rates?
I have to call my friend Rob.
Phone
a friend. We're phoning a friend.
What does everybody think? Happy Friday, Kelly.
Take a guess, Amy. Come on.
Founded in 1913.
What?
I said, if it was founded in 1913, when did it start controlling interest rates?
I see Amy clicking away. That's
Oh yeah,
fair.
I totally did. And it didn't come up with anything right away. It requires me to do some research, which I don't have that capacity.
Allison's checking the college football schedule for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Actually, I am, just so you know.
All right. Rob, what do you think?
I saw 1992 flash up there. I mean, that's as good a guess as any.
1950.
Yeah, it's like the 80s, maybe. I don't know. I have no idea. 70s, like when everything was going
50s?
haywire.
Richard was actually really close. He had 52. I've seen March of 1951.
Oh.
Oh.
There you go. We learned something new today.
So the Federal Reserve, not to go off on the FHFA here, but it's very difficult to get rid of any government entity. In fact, I think the last time a bureau or department was eliminated was during the Jimmy Carter administration in the 70s. And so people are talking about, oh, if Trump wins, the FHFA, they'll privatize Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac again. Well, the FHFA isn't going anywhere. To get rid of bureaucracy is nearly impossible. And so now you have the Federal Reserve, 1913, their role has evolved. And now, it's like, oh, what's the Fed going to do? Every day the Fed is in the financial news headlines or on Bloomberg radio or CNBC, whatever it is. And it's really the Federal Reserve was supposed to kind of take a back seat to really the financial markets and just to help stability. But now it's like, oh, what does Jerome Powell say? What Ben Bernanke say? What did Alan Greenspan say? Paul Volcker, the Fed presidents have become kind of these very well-known entities. Janet Yellen. So the role of the Federal Reserve has really changed, but I'm surprised it's been, over 70 years since they've been setting interest rates. I thought it was less time than that, but anyway.
It's interesting.
And no, I wasn't around when the Federal Reserve started setting interest rates.
All right. Well, that's why trivia is fun. We learn something new and get to banter around with everybody for a little bit. All right. Well, we actually have a little bit of a different format today, which is I'm kind of excited about. It's going to be a little bit fun. For those of you that remember, a couple of weeks ago, I talked about changing up our format a little bit to have different perspectives, and we have that today. Amy is a part of the depository world, working for a bank. Allison's a part of the independent mortgage banker world, and so we've got a little bit of different perspectives going on. These are also two significant leaders within the Mortgage Collaborative as well. Allison was just voted in as our chairman for the upcoming year. And Amy Azorandia was voted in as our secretary. So we're super excited that you guys are here to join us and share your brilliant brains with us for this Friday afternoon. The idea is to take these different perspectives, to have a little bit of fun, but to also solve some real problems that lenders have right now. And so I brought a little bit of a special friend with me. This is called my fishbowl. Yes, the fishbowl is bigger than my head. My head does not fit in the fishbowl. I did try. So yes, Rob.
Where does one buy a bowl like that? Is it like
Marshalls?
Did you get it at pet store?
No, I ordered it on Amazon.
She Googled large fishbowl and that's what she got.
Biggest fishbowl. Yeah, that's what I Googled and Amazon came up with one. So thank you, Amazon.
And delivered it the next day.
No, Chris, I'm not showing you that my head does not fit in the fishbowl. It is filled right now with questions that we have that we're going to have some fun with this afternoon and try to solve for our network. Are we ready?
I think people are in a prickly mood out there, Melissa. I hope you can rein in the viewers. I mean, they're like all over. It's like herding cats here. They're all over the place.
In the rain.
All of these questions, by the way, come from our Ask TMC platform. So if y'all don't know, we have a couple of ways that our network kind of collaborates together, and this is one of them. So if folks have a question, they put it within the Ask TMC platform, and then they help each other to solve some problems. So this is a way that we do that, and these are questions that we either haven't gotten all the answers for, or it hasn't been fully resolved. So we're going to try to help out our network while we're here today. And there might be a few extra fun questions in here outside of just Ask TMC. So,
All I heard is that you're picking the hardest questions from Ask TMC.
there are some that are really hard, guys. There are also some in here that are going to be super fun, and we'll learn from one another with. Okay, are we ready?
Sure.
All right. Thank you, Allison and Amy, for being my guinea pigs.
What if we only get to one question? Because
then
it's
we should have one question. We'll tackle more later.
That'd be a good one.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
What is that? Is that Hebrew? What is that long string of? What?
It's a question. It's a
right.
question. I decided to make it easy and just cut them out of paper. So that's what I'm using today.
Okay.
All right. The question is actually around Ron. So Amy, I think you probably can tackle this one, but it says working through our Ron setup, any implementation feedback or how much is everyone actually using Ron? What have y'all heard either through maybe your loan officers or your teams? Amy, are you doing Ron?
I'm not doing Ron today, but I do think that we all need to start really thinking about this. Most of the states are up and running with Ron. There's only a couple that aren't. I think right now, Mississippi and Georgia are still in the works. And I think there's like a couple other southern states that don't have it yet. And I know that Kentucky is a little funky with the rules. So I guess like if I were to consider, which you all should be considering, especially if we believe that rates are going to start moving, the first thing that I would want to check are my state laws, right? And I know that the MBA.org website has a ton of really great references that are available to anybody. You don't need an MBA login to get in there and look at those resources. You can just get right in there and take a look. But then I would also look at like, technical stuff. I would look at like the platform integration. I would make sure that the user experience was good, and then I guess data security and protections, all that good stuff. And then I would just test it all again.
So is it also at the county level, Amy?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to consider it there as well.
So you could have a state like Missouri
Pennsylvania,
say thumbs up, and then
The county won't
several
accept it.
the county won't allow
counties.
it. Yep.
And we have a comment in the chat too that they heard only 5% of lenders were actually using full Ron, and I think it's probably fair to assume why, right? It's all the layers of complexity between all the things Amy you just mentioned, and then Rob what you just brought up. There's it's not just is the state approvable, but can you do that down to the county level? And for folks like Allison, right, when you're in as many states as you're in, that's hard to implement.
Yeah, it hasn't. I'm not saying it's not on our radar, but we're still trying to roll out hybrid closings. So that's what we've been focusing a lot of our attention on. We are behind the gate on that for sure. As opposed to a lot of other companies.
Well, you're not.
It's great. You can get a ton of bang for your buck with hybrid. So
Heck yeah.
definitely start there and then get your eNote up and running and then look at Ron. But you don't need eNote to have Ron. You can kind of mix it up. There's no one size fits all.
Yeah.
Paul Campbell said it was a non-starter because, maybe in the future, but yeah, I mean, back to what I was saying earlier, I mean, you could have all your investors good to go, but if you're loaning money in Smith County and Edna, who's still using carbon paper, doesn't accept it, then you're dead in the water.
Right.
So yeah, hybrid, right?
Hybrid. Campbell, I think you said what percentage? We're in the 90s, like high 90s. We use SnapDocs, which is the vendor of the organization.
I love it. Okay. Yeah, we got a lot of good positive feedback around hybrids. That's awesome. Okay. Are you ready for another one?
Sure.
Okay. See, not so hard, right?
I'm sweating over here.
Right. Me too.
Fun.
This is like, it's so fun. Amy and I are like sweating over here, and Rob's cool as a cucumber.
I have
that's because I won't know any of these answers, Allison. It'll be YouTube.
Rob, there is not one thing that I haven't asked you that you didn't know the answer. So
Who put the bop in the bop shabop? No, never mind. Sorry. That's an old song. That's an old song.
we'll
I don't know where
some
of Melissa's swear words come from. Like collie model. What the heck? Where did that come from?
Model? Not once have I ever said that. All right, here we go. Investors are being aggressive on outreach to refinances delivered to them. Some have stated that they have a recapture of 70%. How are you preparing for this?
They do. They are aggressive. And one thing, just a little note, what we are now double checking is when we get an early payoff to make sure the servicer wasn't the one that refinanced it. Right? Because you're getting those bills pushed back. You want to make sure they're not the ones doing it. So I would just encourage you guys to ask for payoffs, who requested the payoffs. You can try to go through MERS. We've been struggling a little bit with that to try to determine, but they're very aggressive. So our loan officers get very upset because we sell our loans to aggregators. Freedom is one that, you know, not knocking on any investors. I'm just saying our experience, but they are actually refinancing them in the recapture period. So we're not refinancing them because we're in the recapture period. But we have to be more aggressive on what we're doing and our course of action with the investors, but it's going to be tough because they can offer a better rate, right? Because they're wanting to keep it in, and we had a servicing portfolio. I get it. You don't want the runoff in your servicing portfolio when you pay a premium for the loan, but that is a struggle for us. The other thing that we noticed too is we're part of Sales Boomerang Trust Engine and we get trigger leads. But the problem is by the time we call, what is happening is people are using a tri-merge soft pull all the way through till right, and this is super smart. I wish we would have thought of it. We didn't. Then right before closing, they're flipping it to a hard pull. So even though I'm calling within 24 hours, they're already closed. So, you know, those are a couple things that we noticed, but I think you got to just work your portfolio and, you know, try to refinance. We came out with a refinance program for our loan officers. But we're going to try to get more aggressive, and we are relaunching our consumer direct, which we shut down for about 2 years, just because, you know, we didn't have any volume and we kind of plugged those people in other places and then just took them back and, you know, going to work through that way.
Hey, Allison, question for you.
Yeah.
Do you change up your advertising, like what if you're in the recapture period as opposed to being after the recapture period?
Well, Amy, in the contracts, it says very specifically you're not allowed to solicit to the
Could you
borrower.
still do the birthday card? Like, does that count?
I would say we do the keeping in touch. Like, just
For
keep
top
up
of
in
mind
mind.
stuff.
I'm not saying we'll refinance you, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we do the keeping in touch. If the borrower comes to us, we refinance it. I can't tell you that our loan officers aren't reaching out to their database, but our policy is that during the recapture period, they're not supposed to. But yes, they're still doing a keeping in touch. 100%.
Ellie in the chat says to call and ask for notes on all EPO to ensure that they do not call prior to the EPO agreements.
Yeah.
So there you go. All
You
right.
know, if I could digress,
Yeah.
let me talk to you guys about salmon.
Okay.
Little baby salmon, they hatch in the river and then they make their way downstream to the ocean and they come back up the river and they spawn. Well, during that time period, there are fishermen, there are predators, birds, there are other fish, there's boating accidents, there's just, you know, loss of life. And so by the time the salmon come back, whatever salmon come back up to spawn, the world is always amazed that many salmon made it back after a year or 2 or 3 out at sea and sometimes I wonder about loans, because if you're an independent mortgage bank, and to your point earlier about selling to an aggregator or brokering it out to whoever,
Right.
you know, United Wholesale just this week came out with Keep, you know,
Yep.
to help the broker. And it's not necessarily to help the consumer, although if Matt Ishbia were on this call, and I've been exchanging emails with Matt this week, so much fun. You know, he's a competitor and he's not necessarily always in business for the borrower's health, or certainly his competitor's health. So if you're an IMB and you are trying to retain that client that you worked so hard to get a year or 2 or 3 ago, I mean, they're getting, you know, advertisements on the radio and the newspaper, on TV. They're getting people, you know, mail pieces. They're getting, you know, solicited by telephone calls. They're getting, most of all, solicited by whoever owns that servicing. And that company bought that servicing not for their health, but to get that cash flow, but also have an inside track on getting that borrower should rates drop, or maybe they need a HELOC or whatever it is. So it's very tough if the servicing is elsewhere. It's very tough for an IMB or a bank or any institution to retain that borrower. So staying in front of the borrower is very important.
I had a situation last week that I got involved in. I won't say the investor, but they refused to send the payoff. So why they would not send the payoff, they were calling and berating the customer of why they're refinancing. This happened to be a really good friend of the branch manager. So of course that caused some issues like, why are you selling our loans there if this is gonna happen? And I understand 100%. We did eventually get it. But it was pretty tough. So they are pretty aggressive, 100%.
Well,
All right.
Bob, I just like that you took it from salmon.
well, you look
I
at
know,
these
and I
salmon.
ate that for dinner last night, and I felt guilty when he's like the little baby salmon. I'm like, yep, that's what I ate for dinner last night.
That's right. That's one salmon that'll never make it back up the river too.
It was delicious though, so for what it's
Yeah.
worth.
All right, here we go.
I'm sure it was delicious.
I love salmon.
Salmon's tasty.
My favorite. Ooh, this one's a really fun one. What did you have for breakfast?
Oh, I had an egg muffin with turkey
Egg muffin.
and tomato, fresh sliced tomato, and some non-fat mozzarella cheese. If you really want to get specific.
Okay.
I had 2 scrambled eggs and a banana. Same thing I pretty much eat every day.
Rob, did you
I had
have?
Captain Crunch.
I knew a cereal was coming. I did not. I had oatmeal.
Did you like have the fruity Captain Crunch? Don't they have a couple different
Crunch
flavors?
berries?
No.
No, I go with just a straight. You know, I'm a
Generic?
man. I'm a
The
man now, so I
original,
can't be
Allison.
doing this foo stuff. You know, Crunch berry stuff. Just straight Captain Crunch.
Oh, I loved the crunch berry stuff. Yeah. Okay. All right. Maybe a more serious.
Do you
one.
remember Blueberry?
You
Oh,
guys
yeah,
are
those
all
all
eating.
out.
You're all eating very well. Congratulations to the 3 of you.
Okay, this one's a big question. Look
Oh
how
my
we-
God, that'll wrap up the half hour.
Holy crud. Okay. Are there others out there that have a 2-time construction loan, and how are you navigating DU versus LP when the lot is bought at the construction loan? We are trying to catch all the final files that are not ready to close yet and change them to purchases so the files don't have to be redone. Any thoughts or comments? You guys doing 2-time construction, Amy, or are you doing 1?
Yeah, we have a portfolio 2-time interim close construction, but can you read the last part of that
I think
question again?
Yeah, I think they're, excuse me. We're trying to catch all the final files that are not ready to close yet and change them to purchases so the files don't have to be redone. There is a difference, right, between the 2-time and the 1-time, like the purchase and the refinance component.
There is, but so with an interim construction, we're gonna underwrite to the end loan, right? And if I've closed a transaction and I've purchased the land, then that part of the question has me scratching my head a little bit because I don't really know how you structure it as a purchase transaction when the borrower already owns the land.
Yeah.
I believe the correct approach is to kind of treat it as a refinance and incorporate that land cost and the construction financing together. And maybe I need some education. Like, I think you'd be misclassifying it as if you did it as a purchase.
Yeah.
We need Teresa Rose here. Like she would know how to answer this question.
We did a 2-time close, but the construction loan was on the bank side, right? It was not like our portfolio,
Yep.
and then we did a takeout.
Yeah.
So it's always a refinance on our
Yeah.
side. There is a difference, I believe, in VA, if I'm not mistaken, where you can do a construction VA.
Oh.
But Gemma's
Yeah.
so if they have a 2-time close, the end loan will always be a refinance. The first closing would be a purchase or refinance.
Yes.
So
Because you're
I,
purchasing the land and
I
then you
agree.
already own it when you're doing that takeout. It's a refi.
Yeah, the,
So I'm confused.
yeah, I'm confused too. Go for refinance, not have to worry about purchase. All right, we're gonna move on from that question. All right.
But that's a great question. I mean, that's
That's a great
a real life
Yeah.
problematic question.
I mean, I really couldn't be any help because we only did one construction loan by accident, so not a pro at it.
I did a renovation loan by accident once too. We'll talk about that a different day.
When do we get the what's for lunch question?
No, but this one's fun one too.
I don't know. What's for happy
Okay.
hour?
What was the best piece of career advice you've been given?
What's that?
What was the best piece
Oh.
of advice you've been given? Not what was on the happy hour menu. Rob's thinking about, but what was the best piece of career advice you've been given?
Mine was to learn how to adapt to different personalities.
Like on this call.
Yeah, I mean, it took me years to get Rob's personality. I'm just kidding.
Work hard, try to retain as much information as possible. Use one piece of information to kind of help with the next. You know, there's been so many pieces of
Yeah.
good takeaways. I got a whole notebook of things that people have told me along the way.
Learn to listen was one, which I'm still working on.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
I'm with you, Allison. Rob, how about you?
Woe is me. I'm trying to think of any. It's not like I grew up in the school of hard knocks or grew up during the Depression or something. But my bosses, there was never really any advice. Like Paul Tuttle, Tuttle and Company, like the first hedging company. He was very well, he was strict, I guess. That would be a polite term. But anyway, the advice was don't screw up. I mean, do the damn job and do it, just do the job. And so I can't remember any mentors that I had, giving kindly advice about really much of anything. It was kind of like tough. It was just tough, working in a cannery or working for a contractor. Or I was just tough environments that I was in. It was like, do your job.
Do you think employers are soft today? They're all empathetic.
I think
Well-
there are more laws now than there were in the early 90s, but
Yeah, I think the people in their 20s and 30s definitely have a different outlook on work. And I mean, you make jokes about, oh, they show up for work and they want a trophy kind of thing. But and I try to take a different approach with Robbie to some extent, and my daughter Marie. I try to give them some advice, which they don't listen to. But maybe workers have changed. I don't know. You could have a whole session on this, Melissa, just worker related questions like that.
We did at TMC. I believe there was a whole session on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Empathetic leadership. Got some good in the chat too. If you make an error, let everyone know so it gets resolved quickly. About problems, tell it all, tell it early, and tell it yourself. That's a good one. Head down, nose clean, stay focused.
I would, turning to the Bible, from Salmon to the Bible. I mean, the saying of do unto others as you would have done unto you. People are always amazed when they write to me and I email them back. And they're like, wow, I didn't think you would write back. And I always say, you took the time to write to me. I'm going to take the time to write back. You would want a response. You would want to be treated fairly. You would want, things on the up and up. So that's how I kind of run Crispin LLC. It's like, all right, well, I'm going to treat my counterparties like I would want to be treated, and it's worked out okay.
Golden rule, right? Although I had somebody tell me very early in my career, which you know, right or wrong, that there's a different definition of the golden rule. That those who
That's-
have the gold make the rules, which I did not
Yes.
take well. But it is true, I guess. All right, we got a few more. Don't bring a problem without a potential solution. That one's a good one. When one of us shines, we all shine. Speak up and ask for help. You do not have to do it all yourself. That is a fantastic one, Beatrice. I think I got everybody's. Chris's. Give all credit to your team. Take all responsibility for any problem. A great one, Chris. All right. Was this fun for everybody? This was super fun for me. I think we tackled a few big questions. We had a little bit of fun with some others that I randomly threw in there. Love that.
Do you recycle these questions, Melissa, or are they out of the fishbowl forever?
No, they're out. We're gonna put them in the trash. We'll have new questions next week and have an opportunity to learn more about each other and connect and collaborate on some of the things that our network is having.
So if people want to submit questions to you, what is the best email, Amy Bohr, to actually send them to Melissa Langdale?
I'm still in here as Amy Bohr today. I did not realize that. Yeah, they can send them to me. Everybody on here should have my email address. It's just mlangdale@mtgcoop.com. Or if you're in the network, submit them to our Ask TMC platform. That's where I'll be pulling some of these from. If you go in and sign in, you will see outside of what did you eat for breakfast and the career advice, you'll see those questions in there. And each week we'll try to tackle some of these. We've got a few more weeks of folks that we have booked prior that'll have a traditional format, but starting in October, this is what you guys can expect, some different perspectives and a great way for us to collaborate together and solve some challenges that lenders are having today. So I look forward to it with everybody.
And all these rules are different for people in Texas. I mean, Texas has its own set of rules and answers.
We have our own
Questions,
pledge of allegiance too, so. All right. I love it. Thanks, everybody. I hope this was fun, and we'll see you right back here again next week. Allison, Amy, thank you guys so much for joining.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.